Welcome to the Author's Porch, where every good conversation happens. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride from author to author. We want to give you an experience where you learn and enjoy the conversation. Authors tell you about their journey, you learn about new books, and at the end of the day, you go home with a smile on your face because the Author's Porch is a beacon of light, bringing you home to the family you never knew you had. We hope that you enjoy the show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Author's Porch, where every good conversation happens, and it happens because we love bringing amazing people here and having a great opportunity to talk to them. And today on the show, we have author Justina Luther, we have Erin, and we have Elizabeth. And I'm getting a little sidetracked. And the reason why I'm getting sidetracked is I realized that my banner was cutting off Erin's name. And I was like, oh, let me get rid of that. I got to get rid of that.
Someone.
So I was like, let me get rid of that. Okay, now I got rid of it, and I'm being sidetracked. And I was like, I'm going to be fancy today and be on point. And there I go, getting sidetracked. Squirrel brain. So guys, we do these. Look at Marco. I told you I was going to have dogs running in the background. So we wanted to come on today, and what we're doing is we're just having our roundtable author chat event. And what this is giving us an opportunity to basically give you inside. What is the word? Y'all help me today. Lord.
Inside look.
Inside there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you. An inside view of what authors go through, writers within our careers, and kind of what the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, the different genres. You've got Justina, who's been writing for quite a few years. You've been writing for 2 to 4 years, correct?
Me?
Justina, yeah.
Been writing since I was a little girl, but professionally 4 years.
Okay, and Erin, you've been doing this for about 20 years, is that correct?
Writing for 20 years, but then only professionally for the past year. I only published my first book last year.
Yeah, okay. And Elizabeth, you are about to publish your second book, but you are the COO of a publishing company. I do know that. I've been published author for 4 years, but I have almost 40 books between my two pen names.
Congratulations.
But the thing is like we're all at different stages in our careers, and it's like juggling life, right? Like before we were in the green room, I call it. We're fancy. We got a green room here at the Author's Porch, you guys. And me and Justina were talking, and right before we even went into the studio or even the green room, I was sitting here, I had the platform up, and I was watching Roseanne. Roseanne was on like the reruns and everything, and I was getting sleepy, and I was like, okay, well, I've got about 20 minutes before we have to go live. So I set my alarm for the time everyone was going to come on the platform, and I was like, power nap. Like and Justina was telling me, that lack of sleep. So how many of you guys have dealt with this whole lack of sleep thing when trying to function?
I have to have a power nap, and the power naps help because when you have something to do or you're doing something, those power naps help, but they're not long enough. So, but it gives me a boost to keep moving on. So power naps are important.
Yeah.
When my brain shuts off, it's off. Like I can't turn it back on.
Well, that's funny because my brain won't even shut off. So
I don't know how to shut my brain off. My brain doesn't shut off. It just keeps going.
And we talked about this last night, Elizabeth, is how do you know to stop? Like you get so caught up on deadlines, right? You have a deadline, you've got all this stuff you need to do. And me and Elizabeth had this in-depth conversation last night, and it's like, you have to shut off at a certain point. But how do you tell your brain to shut off? And one of the things I was telling her is like turn all your notifications off. Literally put the phone in another location, close that laptop or that computer, turn it off and like force yourself. But uh, how do you do it, Aaron? How do you shut off when you know that you are on overload? Like you're so stressed to the max that you're no longer producing anything that is helpful to your career or to your family.
I suppose I can't, honest to God, I can't actually shut my brain off. It doesn't matter if I turn everything off, my brain will continue to go. But I suppose when I know that I have reached a moment where I have to have peace, I will read. It's the only thing that works. I'll grab a book and I'll have to force myself into another world for a little bit. And it's the only thing that distracts me enough to take me away from what I have in my head. Otherwise, I'm on all the time. I don't know how to turn off.
I'm gonna try that, Aaron. I'm gonna try that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try getting a
Escaping
book
to
and
another
reading
world
and going to
really
another
seems to be
world.
the only thing that works.
Because
Really?
when I was saying that, my mind, like although the notifications, and I listen to what CJ say, the notifications, turn it off, put the phone in another room, do all that. I can just
Except
have
here.
my eyes closed and my mind is still like, this
Yep.
has to be done. That has to be done. It's still turning. And
But
it's
that's been my life. I've been that way since I was little, so I'm used to it. It doesn't really affect me. But it's something that I know, as CJ said, you don't produce the same quality of work
Yeah.
if you burn yourself out. And my brain, even though it's used to going all the time, I do reach a point where I'm not producing quality. I'm just spinning my wheels.
right.
And then that's where reading comes in. And I think, okay, time to shut off, escape. And even though I let my brain go, at least it's going somewhere else instead of thinking of everything I need to do.
I like that.
But see, I can't shut off in the silence. So reading a book won't work for me. Like I can't shut off and get lost. I have to have the noise of a TV or I
Oh,
have
right.
to be doing manual labor, like cleaning the house. And when I'm talking about cleaning the house to get my mind to shut off, I'm talking about like scrubbing with bleach and getting into tiles and all that other stuff.
Ooh,
Like
I wish I did that.
well, I don't
That's
do
a
that
great way to turn
anymore.
off.
Like, yeah, like I don't do it anymore because I can't move that way anymore. So it's
Oh,
usually
right.
the TV. Like when I was younger and a lot less weight on me and a lot better breathing, I used to do all that. But now it's kind of like if I get into a book, I'll start reading and then my mind will start because I have horrible ADD. Sometimes it's horrible, sometimes it's great because it allows me to go in all kinds of different ways, right? But so I'm kind of all over the place. I'll get into a good TV show, but it's got to be comedy because if it's
Yeah.
not comedy, then the depression can kick in.
Mm. Wow.
So
Yeah.
for me, when I say my brain shuts off, what I mean by that is once I fall asleep, I'm not going to hear the alarm.
Oh, right.
Okay.
That's what
out.
I mean.
Right.
When I'm out, I'm out. Like it's.
Mm.
But as far as my brain going, that's why I'm multi-genre. I am a squirrel on Red Bull. Boing, boing, boing,
I
boing,
love
boing, boing,
that.
boing.
Yes.
Yeah,
That is my
I
brain.
feel
That is
you.
why I'm in 5 different genres
Wow.
ish. Yeah, something.
She said
I don't know.
ish.
Math. I'm words, not
Wait,
math.
she's flirting with another genre on the side. She's just not ready to commit yet.
Right.
Right. Having this chat is making her go into a whole new genre right now. I feel
Yes.
you. Yeah. Yeah, I'm multi-genre as well for that reason because I will get off on a tangent. Like I was talking with Elizabeth just
Oh yeah.
yesterday and a whole story just came and I'm like we're going to have to write that.
Mhm.
So I feel you.
CJ will make you go into a whole nother genre if you don't even want to. Because I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, okay, that story does sound good. Let's do that. And then I come up with another story in the background, but I'm like, I don't have it. It didn't come like that to me like it came to her. So yeah,
Right.
she'll get you off and you'll be thinking all these wonderful things of how to put a story together. Talk to CJ. She'll have you doing it.
Oops, sorry.
You're good.
I once just talking about the way story ideas just pop out of nowhere. It was nighttime, I was walking around trying to make sure all the lights and everything were off in the house because my mom does the morning shift with my dad, who had a brain bleed at the beginning of last year. So we're 50-50 caretaking between my mom and I. She does morning shift, I do night shift. So I was walking around making sure all the lights were off and everything. And there was this one room that there was a closet on, and you could just see the strip of light in the closet underneath the door. I got one of my book ideas came just from that. I saw that and I was like, like it just starts spinning. I'm like, oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like
It's
I'm
weird where it
thinking
comes
right
from.
now, what genre was it? Because I'm thinking some type of suspense, thriller, fantasy, Portal.
Not fantasy, but suspense thriller for sure. It's called These Four
Oh.
Walls.
Yes.
Ooh.
Like I would not be able to go to sleep. I'd be opening my eyes looking at that light, that strip
I
of
turned
light
it off.
glowing.
I didn't leave it on.
She took her idea and ran.
I'm
Literally,
telling
because the
you.
whole house was dark at that point, and my imagination is way too active for that.
That's the thing with authors. Our ideas come from everywhere, right? Isn't it fantastic? I love that.
Yep.
Where your best book that you wrote. This is where let's shout out the best that you feel that you've written. Where did that idea come from? Anybody that can remember? Because I know where mine came from.
You're asking
You
me to
guys.
choose between my children.
Yeah. The
there are
best
30 of
book
them.
that I think I've written. The best book I think I've written.
Oh, that's JR. She couldn't get her camera to connect. It says Facebook user, but I'm assuming it's JR. Okay, so just for the audience, if you're going to comment, we're getting Facebook user here within StreamYard. So if you could put your name and then your comment so we know who you are, that way we can shout you out. So go ahead, ladies, continue to think about it. I will tell you while you're thinking about it and you're picking which one. I know my favorite one came from a nightmare.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had a nightmare, and I woke up the next day. Well, not the next day. I woke up in the middle of the night, could not let myself go back to sleep because I was absolutely petrified to go back to sleep. My kids were coming home on a train for Christmas, and JR, come on in. Even if your camera can't connect, you can still talk if you want to still talk. It's up to you, honey. So my kids were coming home for Christmas on a train, and I had a dream that their train derailed and they were killed in that. And I woke up and I was scared to death, and I called them and they weren't answering, and I was scared. And later on I called them and they were fine. They did come home fine, but the whole next day while they were still on the train, I just literally everything that transpired that next day, and then after they came home, I ended up writing my first romance book based off of that nightmare and then what happened the next day, and everything transpired, and this character came out and told me her life story based off of that nightmare and the next day what transpired, and that turned into my first romance book. And I was like, I'm not a romance author. Like that's
How?
not who I am. Like I'm
Yeah.
going to be a fantasy author because that's at the time I was only writing children's books, and I wanted to be a fantasy author because that's what I read. And I wrote Love Derailed as a short story in 2020 and then just re-released it later on as a full-length novel, which was my first full-length novel. And it put me into the world of romance, and now all these romance characters are wanting me to write their stories, coming out of my imagination. I'm like,
Right.
so that was the craziest idea, like out of a nightmare turned into a love story.
That's what I find fascinating is a romance was born from a nightmare. That's interesting.
It's my beautiful disaster story.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys have to share. Okay,
Well,
if
I
you
don't
have more
get
than one, share.
I have mine. Like I told you, CJ, a while ago. I don't never get anything unless I'm driving on the highway. Is when all these thoughts just start pouring into me, like inspirational quotes, things that are inspirational to tell other people, and it happens on the highway. So I have to literally have a book and a pen on my seat, so I'm able to turn when it's a stoplight or something, just jot it down real quick and then keep moving. But that's when I get my most, and I was able to get my 200 inspirational quotes by driving down on the highway.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
I
very
told
nice.
you you need to tell Siri or Alexa or Google, whatever phone you have, you need to tell her, take a note, and then you could talk to it. Be safe on that highway. I told you
I
about
know
that.
you did tell me that, but I also have my book as well. Just when I stop and it's
I
still in my mind, I'm
I
looking
know.
at it right now.
That's a
But
good
yes, you
idea.
did. So safety is key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either of you remember which crazy
Well,
story turned into a book for you?
it's
Or
not that I
which
don't
crazy
remember.
idea?
I have a bunch. That's the thing. Trying to pick. So
Trying
I'll
to
just,
pick one.
yeah. I'll
Okay,
just
share
go,
some.
I guess, with my first book because it's the easiest one. That book was that I literally worked on that book for 15 years. So when someone asks me about it, that's the first thing that came to my head because I wrote it as a short story first when I was 13-ish. And my parents have a large age gap. And my first memory is of finding my grandfather after he passed away. That's like, I was just shy of 2, and that's literally my first memory is finding him after he passed.
Wow.
So death has very much always been kind of on my radar.
Mm.
And when I was little, knowing that my parents had the age gap that they have, it was always scary to me. Like, if my dad passed away, what could my life look like? So that first story literally came through me just sort of walking out the worst case scenario in my head type of
Mm.
thing. And it started as a short story, and I put it to the side. And then I got brave enough to share some of my work online when I was about 15. And people started liking it, so I started lengthening it. And that turned into the first book, and then published a couple of years ago. So yes, Would You Have Believed Me, I would say, is my favorite because it was with me the longest, and because there are a lot of parts of me in that book just simply because of how long it was with me.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
find it
very similar,
fascinating.
Justina, to my first book. Well, one of, I actually don't know my exact first book, but the one I was going to mention was Gentleman's Journey. And that one I wrote 22 years ago. And I
Wow.
worked on it. I wouldn't say worked on it. It was just always in the back burner for 22 years.
Yep.
I wrote it when I was 14. I figured, it was a cute little story. I didn't think much about it. And then I decided it evolved a little over the years but that character has been with me for 22 years. So yeah, I suppose it's the closest one to me, as far as all of my books. Like it's the one that's been with me the longest. And if it's not the longest, because Tom Song actually might be the longest, but it's definitely the one I've worked on the hardest.
Wow.
And I think also with the characters, the books that started when you were a kid, you see your own journey as an author. Like I remember the original
Absolutely.
title, and it was What's What, I believe, and now I wonder what I was thinking.
Yes.
With the title.
Yeah, you go back to that first draft,
like,
that first story you wrote, and go, what? I thought I could take 6 countries and cram them into one book and have people think that this girl did this.
So I have this
Absolutely
question for both
asinine.
of you, Aaron and Justine. So do y'all have books that's out, books that are written but they're not published yet? They're like half written, that they're just sitting there that you have to come back to? Because I've noticed that I can have this amazing story in my head and I'm ready to write it down, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready. And I can write some of it, and then I'm get halfway there and it's like,
The
okay,
full story's not there.
it's not there. So I'm like, what do I do? So I have like 2 books that I have written down in a black and white tablet, but it's gone.
The way I have so many unfinished pieces of work for many different stories that I've either thought was a great idea at the time, tried giving life to it, and it just fizzled out, but I still loved the idea. So I have several, or ones that I finished, but I wrote them so many years ago that they honestly need to be rewritten to be it's not rubbish. But I think the main thing is that if you have the idea and you know the beginning, and maybe even have a bit of a middle, but you don't know the end yet, that's where it can get a little bit tricky. And if the middle isn't strong enough to keep driving the story to the end, I kind of figure, well, then I don't have enough here that's naturally coming out. The character's not talking to me. And if the character isn't talking to me, then I know they're not going to be talking to the reader. Then I know the story isn't strong enough to
That's
live.
good. That's
And
good.
I just let it lie. And it may lie there for a while. Maybe it'll be resurrected later, but I won't worry about it because that character is not ready yet. And I just
I
kind of
like
blame
what you
them.
said. I like what you said. It's just lies. So you're not forcing something
Yes.
just because
You can't force it.
Yeah,
you cannot force a story. A story will either be true and natural, or it will feel forced. And a reader will see that. They will see the story because it's like you're trying to blow life into it. And nobody wants to read something that was given CPR. They want to read something that's vital and real, you know. And so if your character's not alive, then you're just beating a dead horse. And it's not going to do anything for the story. That's how I see it anyway.
So
Somebody
for
needs to
me,
quote that. Nobody
sorry.
wants to read something that was given CPR. Somebody needs to quote you on that. That was great. Sorry,
That was
Justine, I
good.
didn't mean to cut
I
you
love
off.
that. Thank you so much. I love that. That was awesome.
So
You're
for me,
welcome.
I'm
Thank you.
a bit of an oddball because with the publisher that I'm with, I would bring her story ideas as I got them, and then I would have a contract and a date before I had a book.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's
And
hard.
so deadlines are a real motivator for me.
Yeah.
And so I would sit down, and usually I'm more of a pantser than a plotter. I always have been.
Same.
My books always come to me with the ending. That's how they come to me, is the ending. And then I work my way there.
Mm.
And so that's why I'm able to give her a blurb and things before I've written the book, because I know how it ends. I just don't know how I get there.
No, that's
Yeah.
brilliant. That's half your
That's
battle
great.
done before you've even started, is the fact that you know where you want to go with it.
I either know the final scene or like the highest point of drama, because that's the way my story ideas pop into my head, is the craziest portion of.
Yeah. That's perfect.
And then I can go
Yeah.
from there. But so for me at the moment, I don't have things sitting around because they already had that date that I had agreed to. So there have, I agreed this year to basically a book a month, pretty much. Putting it on myself. My publisher did not do that to me. I did that to myself, and that was 2 years ago. And then my dad got hurt.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got this whole new lifestyle plus the most insane schedule that I have ever had in my life. And so juggling those two and making the ideas flow, the things that I've found is, I may have rabbited here. I don't know. My brain may have skipped tracks here, but
That's okay. Let it go.
changing,
Let
like,
it flow.
if I feel like a story isn't flowing, not like the last 4 or 5 books I did plot out, because if I do kind of a germ of an idea for each scene, it kind of helped my brain keep going when I was really tired. But something that I've found helps me when I'm feeling really stuck in a book, I do usually multi POVs, like multiple point of views. And so if I'm like, okay, I'm stuck on what this character is doing, I'll switch to another character and see what they're up to. And I kind of keep it going that way. And also switching up the way in which I'm getting the words out, I found helpful, like longhand, typing, or dictation. So
Okay.
if it's not flowing when I'm typing, I'll switch over to dictation and see if things come out a little better that way. And then, of course, refining. But those two methods have helped me not feel like I'm stuck on a story.
Yeah.
That's
It's changing
brilliant.
the way my brain works.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you brought up a great point. Like everyday life happens. Like things that go on in our life change as well. You know, I mean, COVID told everybody that. I mean, when everyone got stuffed back into the house, everyone freaked out. Me, I was like, yay, I don't have to go outside anymore. And I loved it. I mean, I haven't left this spot in years. I'm totally okay with that. That's me personally. I'm not an outside person. I don't remember. It's probably been a month since I've left my property line, and I'm okay with that. For me personally, I don't like being around people, and I love people. I don't like the physical proximity of people. It gives me the heebie-jeebies, so that made me become more me when I didn't have to be in physical proximity of unknown entities. And, like people come up and try to talk to me. I'm like, oh, don't touch me. It was always that way for me growing up. I've always had that social anxiety thing. But a lot of other people, depression, anxiety, and everything started coming at them for it. So when COVID hit, people that really affected them. Now you've got, things happening, like you said, your father got sick. You upended your life now. That was back in 2014. You moved to a whole different country, Erin.
Oh yeah.
Elizabeth, you're running a whole publishing company, so you've got authors that you have to, well, you're the COO, sorry, you have a CEO ahead of you, but
Has-
you're the COO.
yeah.
So you have authors you have to deal with, you have marketing that you have to deal with, I mean, there's so many things, I mean, I have health issues. That's another reason why I don't leave the house, because I could be thrown into a fit at any moment with different health issues. So how do you deal with different things that life throws you? I mean, I've been here sick for the past week. I'm not sick. Yesterday I came out of that. My body stopped reacting, so I'm good now. But I couldn't do a lot of things. People were inboxing me like crazy, needing a lot of stuff, and I was like, I'm just done. Like I'm
Not
tired and
here.
I can't. How do you and your characters start to react differently? Like, do you notice your writing changes? How do you deal with all of life's life?
For me, I have to regroup, and
Yeah.
sometimes I have to know what that I have to even know for myself what that even looks like, and I just have to sit and be like, okay, am I what is going on, what is not going on, and I have to sit and I have to say, okay, let me line everything up. And the opposite of you, CJ, I am a people outgoing person. I had to learn how to come back on the inside and level things out, because I'm always, I'm on the go and I have to be, out front and making sure that everything is going. But then I also had to have a balance as well, balancing life, balancing, author life, and balancing everything else I'm doing. There has to be a balance as well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just regrouping and knowing what's important right now and what can wait, and go what can wait.
Yeah.
See, I have the advantage. I don't, unlike Justina, I don't have deadlines. I'm not that kid. Nobody's signed me on, or, I'm my own person. So I don't have anybody that I'm necessarily having to have a deadline for. So it's easy for me to take that time to regroup, put the book on the back burner. I do feel guilty when I do that, though, because I know my character is going, thank you for freezing me on this page. This is exceedingly uncomfortable. Can I move now from this damned cafe? She gets
Yeah,
louder
yeah,
as I leave her for longer, but, because you do have to consider they're being frozen in time. But, I don't have that same pressure. So it is a little easier for me to balance that juggle, because I don't have the pressure. The only pressure I have at the moment, though, is I do have a second book that's supposed to be coming out, and I know that people are wanting that. So I suppose there's a little bit of pressure that way, but there's not a deadline like what Justina has, where she has a date that
yeah,
has to have something there.
So the balancing act that I have done kind of in the past year and a half is taking the night shift like I do with my dad, basically what happens, medical needs that are necessity early in the morning, mom does it. Middle of the day, we'll kind of switch off. We're with him 24/7 pretty much, except for sleeping now, thankfully. But then at night, medical needs are something that I take care of. And so it's hard to focus during the day because that's when we're wanting him more active and more awake to do physical therapy, to do things like that. So my priority very much needs to be on him because, you know, we're trying to help him learn to walk again, trying to help him learn to use his right hand again and all that kind of stuff, since the brain bleed. Whoops, hit my camera. And so that's a necessity for me to be with him during the day, with my mom during the day, and the emotional support, because there's so much emotional stuff that goes into taking care of somebody. So I found myself a lot doing my work late at night. And when I say late, I mean I would be up till like 3 a.m, 4 a.m, working. And by the sheer grace of God, I loved what was coming out, because I am the worst about falling to imposter syndrome. I am so bad about it. I'm so bad. Y'all, okay, just side note, squirrel brain. I'm 30 books in and I still feel like a 12-year-old writing stories for my friends.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. I'm with you.
I don't know if that'll ever go away.
I hope.
I don't know how many books
I hope it doesn't, because I still love it, because it means, yay, I'm still having fun. I'm still writing stories. On the other hand, and imposter syndrome is also good because it means you're always going to be watching yourself, watching what you put out, watching what you do.
Keeps you humble.
So, I mean, there's that. But also, when you've got a deadline breathing down your neck, you don't want to be going, I suck, this sucks, this is terrible, I'm terrible. Nah, when you've got like 48 hours left before you have to turn this thing in. Not the time, not the time.
Yeah.
Not the time to break, Justina, not the time to break.
Right.
Girl, I was born broken. What are we talking about? Hello, squirrel brain, boing, 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 boing. But I mean, that is something I have just had to learn to accept about myself, that at some point in the process, whether it's when I'm editing, getting ready to turn in, or when I am writing and getting the first draft out, I am going to be going, I suck at this. I'm terrible. Yeah. Like, I have to admit that's going to be going through my head. So if I know it's going to come at some point, and that it's happened with every single book that my editor has liked, that I've liked, that people have liked, then at some point I've got to admit at least some portion of that voice is baloney.
Exactly.
And just sort of push it off to the side and let it yap all at once and keep going.
Yeah.
I like what CJ said, that it just keeps you humble. I think that imposter syndrome is a balancer. It is what keeps us from becoming egotistical, cocky arseholes who just think that they can write whatever they put their finger to. It's a terrible thing to say, but it's true. So you're right. It's a love-hate relationship with imposter syndrome. It is annoying as it can be. It's so critical to keeping us as human, you know?
Yep.
I did this podcast one time, and the gentleman's name is escaping me, but it's 50 Conversations with 50 People. And his first name is Daniel, and I forget his last name, but I'll find it and I'll put it in the comments. And basically, he's an author and so many more things than just an author. But it was an amazing conversation that we had. And he asked me about that little voice inside your head that doubts you and makes you question yourself, and the imposter syndrome and everything. And he said, "What do you do when she starts?" And he said, "Who is she? You know, identify her." And I said, "She's that 6-year-old girl that basically was was smacked in the head by 4 boys outside in an open field, and called a redheaded freckle-faced girl who is constantly going to tell me that I'm not good enough, who's constantly going to tell me what those boys told me at 6, 7 years old. You're ugly, you're stupid, nobody's ever going to like you, because that's what happened to me at 6, 7 years old. And she's the one that's gonna constantly, because she grew with me and kept telling me that throughout my life. He goes, "What do you do when she gets in your ear and she's doing this?" I says, "I tell her to be quiet. I'm not gonna listen to her because the grown me, the woman, the warrior in me says that she's not right and it's okay." He goes, "Why do you keep abusing her like that? Hasn't she already been abused?" And I got chills. I was like, "Whoa." He goes, "Why don't you bring her in and connect with her? Why don't you let her know that it's okay that she feels that way, but why don't you explain to her that she doesn't have to keep feeling that way?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Dude,
What a twist.
seriously?"
Wow.
Yeah, he
Wow.
twisted my whole thought process, because when my whole time I was like, I was fighting myself. I was like, "Girl, you better stop.
Right.
Girl, you better sit down and be quiet. Don't make me whoop you." You know what I mean? Like, I was fighting myself, going, "Not listening to you right now. I'm not listening to you because I know I can do this. I know I got this. I'm gonna keep fighting through this imposter syndrome. I'm gonna keep fighting through, this self-doubt and all this other stuff. I got this. I'm a whole warrior. I'm a whole boss. I'm everything I gotta be." And he says, "Why are you fighting yourself? Why don't
Right.
you bring her in and hug her? Why don't you let her cry on your shoulder and tell her it's okay to feel the way she's feeling? She's been hurt. She's been drugged through the mud and all that other stuff." And when I started doing that, I started feeling a little bit whole again. I started feeling more again. And I still have the imposter. She still cries on my shoulder, but we're becoming more one again. And I'm telling you, it was transformative. It's actually on my website, me and his conversation, the whole thing. But
So is
he
that
was
like,
like,
so he wrote a book? Did he write a book on that, or is that book
he,
geared
wr-
towards
his,
that?
no, his book was his journey to deal with the grief of losing his mother and father. But
Mm.
Mm,
his whole journey was he was going to talk to 50 different people, 50 conversations with 50 different people. Then he went beyond that.
mm,
And it was just to talk to 50 strangers, 50 people he had never talked to before, and just connect. Because that's the one thing we don't do
mm,
as individuals. And that's, speaking of the author world, we all feel alone, and individuals, we're alone. We have a solitary career, but we don't connect as authors. We don't connect with, a lot of times we don't even connect with our readers. We just go, "Here, buy me, 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 buy me." But we don't connect with them. We don't sit down. We don't have conversations with them. One of the great things, you guys know Sophia Aves?
mm,
She's a best-selling author. She's fantastic. She's out of Australia. She has this group called Author Aid, and I've been following it lately, and she's starting to teach a lot of things about your author career itself, not just the writing, but your author career and how to connect more. And one of the things she just talked about was the newsletter. I know a lot of people go, "I don't want to deal with the newsletter. It's too much," right? And it's like, what is there's so many things out there about your career that you could be doing. But I've started getting into the newsletter part of it because it's my direct connection with my audience, my direct connection. Social media can be taken away from us. You've seen so many people kicked off of it. You're seeing a lot of people getting kicked off of Amazon because if they've got erotic type covers, all the other stuff, if they're in the fantasy world. One guy couldn't. I'm just finished author ad school or author ad challenge. Sorry. It's a 5-day. It's free. Brian Cohen puts it on. It's free. You can do it. And in there, he tried to do an ad through Amazon with his book, but because there was a blade and it looked like it was coming down on somebody, Amazon wouldn't let him run an ad towards it. So there's all
mm.
kinds of censorship out there, right? So, but the one thing you do own is your newsletter. you own their email address for the time that they're subscribing. So anyway, Sophia Aves and Author Age, she is actually teaching newsletter stuff and different little things. So it's like, but what do you grab a hold of? How do you know too much is too much? The new trend, the new this, you know?
I think anything, my rule of thumb for social media and marketing and all that kind of stuff is any place I feel like I can be myself, I go there. So with my newsletter, I just recently changed it up. I used to kind of go with the traditional bullet point. It looks like a mailer from a grocery store where they give you the coupons is what the traditional kind of bullet point formula looks like. The one I'm doing now, I'm just writing it like a letter to my best friend. I'm like, hey, this is what I'm up to. This is because that's when I noticed when I'm talking to my best friend about my books, about that stuff, that's when I'm the most excited because I know I don't have to be stiff. I don't have to be professional. I don't have to be the author when I'm talking to her. I can just be Justina, this goofy, excited, bouncy, crazy me.
Yep.
And so I've started doing that kind of more with my newsletter. I'm trying to do that more anywhere like TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, like all those places. I'm trying to do more videos, more stuff where I'm not going in with a plan so much, but I'm still talking about what I'm up to, talking about life, all that kind of stuff, because it's all a part of what we do. So yeah, I guess that is kind of the point though, is more us, less formula, I guess. Did that make any sense?
Yeah,
it does.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because you, like CJ was saying, you could be throwing, all of the promotions, all of this stuff. But for me, I like to make that connection. After they read that book, after they do that, after all that, have you made that connection with that person for them to come back to you and say, hey, what are you doing? What's going on? Or want to follow you or want to do. That connection is important. That connection is important.
Yeah.
Like on my newsletter, I talk to them about the Godzilla that lives in my tree. There's this lizard, it's massive, and I sent them a picture, and I'm like, his name is Godzilla now. And I mean, I've got a whole wildlife ranch in my front yard, and I talk to them about different things going on. Obviously, you keep some things to yourself because you don't know these people. I've got 6,000 people on my newsletter list, and I'm not gonna. I mean, you don't know, right? But I mean, you let them into your life, and I've got some people. There's 2 people that constantly email me back, and we have this dialogue. I mean, out of 6,000, only 2. It's not a lot, but you know what? It's a start, and I really enjoy their conversation. And the thing is you have to connect. And I really I take it as like my journal time, kind of like I'm talking to them like, dear Aunt Abby or something, like, dear, and I have this great connection. I send them pictures of my dogs because everybody if you know me, they are my life. I'm telling you, if you're in Texas and you know Buc-ee's, Elvis goes into Buc-ee's with me. Elvis goes into hotels with me. Elvis goes into restaurants with me. My little dog Elvis goes everywhere with me. So, I mean, of course, my newsletter people are going to get Elvis in my newsletter. So it's just kind of that connection. And I'm the same way on Facebook. Now, you'll hardly ever see me on TikTok only because I just don't do it that much. I know a lot of people say, but you have to pick 2, maybe 3 things that are your jam, that you're really good at, because when I started out, I was on everything. Now I've got my handles. I almost knocked over my lamp. I got my handles on every social media platform there is. I've got a handle on it. You know what I mean? I've got my at CJ Ives Lopez, at the Author Sports. I've got one because I created an account, and I was everywhere. But I wasn't saturating anything because every platform requires a different type of content, and I couldn't keep up. So I was like, okay, what am I really good at? Okay, Facebook and newsletters. There we go. I'm gonna stick with those. I'm good at that. It's
But
just
it's
too much.
important to connect with the author world to find out those things. Because I remember you telling me that, CJ, you can't be everywhere. You kind of gotta
Right.
bring it in to where it has some type of flow, or you can't be everywhere. So bring it in and do this and do that. So for me, being on the author's porch and talking to different authors, those things because they are able to share, and sharing is something important coming from other authors. And I would like to know from other authors, what works, what doesn't
Yeah.
work, what are you doing, what you're not doing, what can I learn from you, what can you learn from me. It's important. It goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to get better at a newsletter. I tried it last year. I just could not for the life of me. I didn't know enough, and I didn't know how to get it up off the ground, so I let it die. But I need to revive it again and get because
go
it
that
is probably the
CPR.
only platform. I tried TikTok. It was a nightmare. It terrified me. I mean, that just was not going to happen, to see my face on a screen that often. So I'm not even good at Instagram. So I have an Instagram, but I'm not good at it. Facebook
Yeah.
and newsletters was kind of like you, CJ. That was my two. I could be more comfortable with a newsletter more than anything else. I just need to get it going again. But that and Facebook, I just haven't been comfortable anywhere else.
Yeah.
See, y'all
And
are
you have
assuming
to
I'm
go
good at
ahead.
anything I mentioned. I said I'm doing it. I didn't say I'm any good at it. I'm just going.
That
That
part,
was me.
Christina, that part right there. I didn't say
That
I'm
was
good at it.
me. Yeah. I was doing all of it. I was like, yep. And I had my schedule. I had my Excel spreadsheet. This day I was did, and I was scheduling, and I was using my little platform stuff. I was all over. I was like this. And I was driving myself crazy, honey. I was a mess. And then I was like, I'm tired, boss.
Right. You're burnt.
Yeah. And then now I've got more time for writing, and I've got like over 50 different folders of half written little synopsises and everything. And I'm like, one day they'll get written. Until then, I'm just one at a time. I've got like 3 or 4 that I'm currently working on, but I have real bad ADD, those squirrel moments. So I have to go between 2 or 3.
Yeah, I like TikTok just because sometimes my ideas flow better verbally when I'm
Right.
not when I'm writing so much, although sometimes. But for me, it's more like I'm having like a video call with a friend. I just have to ignore that it's my face on the camera on the screen. I have to ignore that part. Otherwise, I'm going, oh, my hair, oh, this, oh, ye,
Yeah.
pick apart. But that's what I like about TikTok. That, and I can set myself for a 15-minute or 15-second interval so I don't talk too much.
Mhm. Yeah.
I like the boundaries that it gives.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think TikTok is one of those, it comes either naturally to you or it terrifies you. It's one or the other. I never knew what to do with it. I couldn't come up with ideas of what to do a 15-second
couldn't
video
either.
on.
I couldn't
I've
either.
got a great idea for you, Erin. All you have to do is read portions of your book with your accent and show yourself flipping the pages and the cover, because your accent, people are going to love it.
Oh yeah.
You don't even have to
Do I
show your
have an
face.
accent?
Yes.
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 Do I not sound like the 3 of you?
No.
Oh.
No. We all did that at one time. Like no.
We're like, it's just a universal
Well,
No.
you see,
But people love it. They'll want to listen to it all the time.
really?
Mhm.
Oh, how funny. Because, I mean, the Irish around me, I'm just fully on American. But then I suppose if I talk to the Americans, you see what I mean? I don't really belong anywhere anymore. The Irish think I'm an American. American thinks I sound
Okay,
Irish.
see, that's your superpower, because the people that don't belong are the ones that shine. So
Yes.
that's good.
Yes.
Yes.
Embrace my loneliness.
Embrace
No.
the sparkle.
Yes.
And
Embrace
look how
standing
many
above the
views
crowd.
you get.
Huh?
And watch how many views and things you get from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a good
Yes.
idea, CJ. I mean, if you think that it would be nice for people to listen to, then I could do that,
Yeah.
Views are a double-edged sword too, because if you get too now obviously that's important because it means you're getting exposure. But at the same time, if you start looking only at how many views you get, you pay less attention to being yourself in
Yeah,
any platform.
on any
Mhm.
platform, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's when I'm doing stuff, I tend to think, be myself first, and then wherever it lands, it lands. Some videos just based on the time that you post, or some tweets just based on the time of day that you send it,
Oh my gosh.
are gonna hit and they're gonna go crazy and it's gonna be amazing. Other times I can do the exact same thing, but because all of the factors didn't line up, I get like 7 views.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
But that's why I think it's so important to just go back to, the advice we were all given as kids: be yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you're
Yeah.
doing that, whatever lands is going to be authentic and great. You're going to pull the right people in. And if it doesn't land, you've not twisted yourself into some bizarre pretzel and you're uncomfortable and can't get out of it.
Yeah, you don't want to be fake. There's
No.
nothing worse than trying to put on a persona or,
Yeah,
try and give people what they want. As CJ was saying earlier, you don't want to be so formal and not yourself. I'm the world's worst at that though, Justina, where I don't ever look at my views. I don't ever look at my stats. I never keep track of anything because I forget about it. So if something did go viral, I'd be the last to know. Someone would have to tell me, oh, well, Erin, your post really went popular. Did it? Oh, that's nice. Lovely.
I had a video that I posted on Instagram, and it wasn't about writing. It was literally about the fact that it was so bright when I came out of the grocery store. I was keeping one eye closed and I looked like I was flirting with everybody. I looked like I was winking at everybody because
Oh,
it was so
no
bright.
way.
The thing got like 4,000 views.
Oh, funny.
And then I posted something about my writing and it was like 7 views. And I'm like, well, darn.
It's because they were the
Natural. Be
4,000
yourself.
people you were all winking at when you walked out of the grocery store.
That was good.
You're like, I remember that girl. She was flirting with me.
Yes.
That's what it was.
I'd know that
Her
wink
face is turning red
anywhere.
now.
That's too funny. Oh my goodness. You ladies have been an absolute hoot. I enjoy talking to you. Promise that you're going to sign up for another author chat because I
This was
think
fun.
that
It's fun. Yeah.
I told you it was going to be fun. But we've come to the part where we're going to give each of you 2 minutes because I want you to shout out any not profile website that you have where people can go and check out your books and learn more about you, the author, not just the things that we talked about today because we've had a great time. And also if you have any new releases coming up, and we're going to start with Justina.
You guys can find me at www.authorjustinaluther.weebly.com. And I actually just had a book drop yesterday, The Clockwork
Ooh,
Killer,
let's see. Oh my goodness, that's
and it goes
fabulous.
into
Beautiful.
clockworks on the back. I love this cover.
Mm.
And I've got 2 books on pre-order right now. They're both dropping in December. One is Whiskey Haze,
Ooh.
and the other one is BioLife, showing that I am all over the place in genres. I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook, I'm on places. If there's a website, check for author Justina Luther, and if you find it, hello.
You found me.
But there is also a place to sign up for my newsletter on my website. It's the top of the first page, so easy grab.
Awesome.
I don't know
Thank
if I
you
have
so
anything else
much.
to say on that.
Well, thank you.
You
I've
did better
I've
than
had a
me.
great time
You've
having you
books
here.
on hand. I wish I had my books to show.
Y'all, I was nervous. I prepared to the nth degree.
You're good.
You-
You're good. I didn't.
do you have
see,
any
I
books
didn't prepare
close
at all, and now
by?
look at me. I'm bookless.
If you have books close by, we can go to Elizabeth, or I'll do mine, and then you guys
Oh
have
no,
time to go
I
get
don't
some
actually
books.
have any.
I don't.
I don't have any
mine
on
on my
hand at the
bookshelf,
moment.
so I don't have any books close by.
Okay, I will make sure I put that in the notes for anybody coming up later on another author chat. Bring your books if you have books. That way we let them know.
We all
But
want
you
to be
know,
like you, Justina. You had a great idea.
yeah, I know, right? But you know what? I am gonna make sure after we leave the chat, drop your links in the comments so people can click
All right.
directly on your links as well. So now, Erin, it's your turn. Where do people go to reach you and learn about your books, and share some titles of your books with us?
Well, I have a young adult historical fiction named Tom Song. That published last year. I have another young adult contemporary fantasy called Jenilyn's Journey, and the prequel to Jenilyn's Journey, which will be the first novella of a series, another series, is The Journeys Begin Aura, and that is also young adult contemporary fantasy. So at the moment, I'm working on 2 series, but those are the 3 books that are out at the moment. But the fastest way, I suppose, is if you don't find me on Facebook, which you should. I have a Facebook page. I'm on Instagram, but also my website, eeburns.com. You'll be able to see, read more about me and see my books there.
Yeah,
But
I
can't
love your
think of anywhere
website.
else I am. I'm on BookBub, whatever good that will do me. But some little places.
We should all follow each other on BookBub. If you guys all got BookBub, I've got BookBub. So I'm gonna go find you guys on BookBub, and we should follow each other on BookBub. BookBub's
I
amazing.
that's a
may,
good
I'm not
idea.
sure.
I got on there.
Justina, you're on
willy-nilly by
everything. You
just
I'm
I
sure you
figured,
do.
well, why not?
Probably.
It was another place.
Oh, so BookBub is great. It's a readers platform. Readers go to follow their authors. BookBub and Goodreads are
Oh,
readers
Goodreads. I'm on Goodreads as
platforms.
well. Yes.
So you need to definitely BookBub. That's
I'm
where
on
readers
Goodreads, I know that.
find your books, and they find you, and you definitely want to be on BookBub and Goodreads. So I'll go follow you guys on BookBub and Goodreads. So we'll make sure you guys go follow Justina and Erin on BookBub and Goodreads. And now we'll head over to Elizabeth before I close out the show. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Well, my name is Elizabeth Johnson. I'm on all platforms on social media: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. And you can also find my books on Playtime Multimedia's website at www.platymm.com. Also have a author's page, Elizabeth Johnson. On Facebook, I have one release that's been out since last year, Just Like My Dad, with my CEO, Tyrell Player. And I'm also coming out with my second children's book, November 30th, with the amazing CJ Ives Lopez, Auntie Nan. And the title of that is Mama Mel's Kitchen, Trust Goes a Long Way, which I am gracing the front cover with the amazing Linnea, who is CJ's great niece. So that book will be dropping on November 30th. And I'm super excited about promoting that book and getting that book out into the community and having it grace the world.
Whoop, whoop.
Very
That's going to
good.
be so much fun.
Very cool.
Good idea with the
Ladies-
phone.
Oh, see, I was pulling it up. I was like,
You're
I hope
on
I'm not next. I hope I'm not next. And I was just
I'm
pulling
like,
it
darn
up.
it, where's my phone? She gave me an idea.
Everybody's going to be like Justina and have our books on the side.
Yeah.
If you
No,
if
but
you
it
have
makes
wonders,
speak out of
y'all.
your phone, for heaven's sake.
do you have your phone with you, Erin? Because if you
I
have
do,
your
yeah.
phone with you,
Yeah,
pull your
Erin,
stuff
let's
up
see.
while I'm doing mine, and then we'll come back to you. So, guys,
right.
I'm CJ. You can reach me at cjiveslopez.com or theauthorsporch.com. Don't forget to submit your article, your poetry, or if you want to advertise. We have 2 magazines, count them, 2 magazines coming out the 1st of January. So you have an opportunity to be in 1 or 2. The first one is going to be Legacies. The second one is going to be Expand Your Intuition. Those are the 2 magazines that are coming out the 1st of January. The deadline to be in those magazines is the 1st of December. You can go to theauthorsporch.com to submit your article. It's free to submit an article. So it's free to submit somebody for an author feature. It's all free. The only thing you would pay for is if you want to advertise within the magazine. We do this for authors because I believe in the author community. So that's why the magazine itself is up on Amazon. You can look at the first 4 or 5 magazines. They're up on Amazon.com. You can get a paperback, or you can read it for free on Kindle Unlimited, or you can buy a Kindle copy of it, an e-copy. So if you want to read any of my books, here is my book, Love Derailed. That's my nightmare turned into a love story that I talked about here on the show. My first full-length novel. Everything else is little novelettes. So that's my little promotion, and I also want to let you guys know of a new book that come out with Playtime Multimedia. This is not my book. This is the fabulous Andrika Ruiz, who just released the Christmas Battle, and it is it's going to be a staple in everyone's home for Christmas time. It's a spiritual journey. So if you go on any spiritual journeys this Christmas, go on the spiritual journey of the Christmas Battle with Andrika. Her family worked together and wrote this one. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Andrika on her book, The Christmas Battle. I just got it in my hands yesterday. That's why I wanted to give it a shout out today. We had a great time reading this. So now that I have it in my hand and it has been published, I can go and finally give it a review. You're going to see my review coming soon. It will be on my blog on the Author's Porch, also on all my social media. I'm at CJ Ives Lopez on all major platforms and at the Author's Porch on all major platforms. And now I'm going to hand it back over to Erin so she can show you her fabulous books because she got it on her phone.
Can you see it? I don't know how well I can.
Up a little higher.
Okay, so that's the one that just released.
Oh, cool.
Can you see it?
Yeah,
Cool
yeah.
cover.
Yeah. I
That's
love the color.
Journeys Begin Aura. Sorry. That's the novella. That's the first novella. Phone went a little weird there. And then that's the prequel to Gentleman's Journey.
Oh,
Oh,
those covers are
Love that
so
silhouette.
cool.
Yes.
yeah, I love the silhouette.
Yeah, I love that.
So
Give me a silhouette. And I'm
that's
totally
my
in.
huh?
I love silhouettes on covers. They're just something
Oh.
fascinating.
Yeah. So they're both spiritual journeys themselves, actually. But yes, those are those two.
You like how we segmented in that? Me and Aaron had that planned out, right? Spiritual
Yeah.
journey to spiritual journey.
Yes,
Awesome.
Good one.
we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah. Ladies, I've had a fantastic time. Thank you so much for being here with the authors chat on the Saturday morning, Saturday brunch, or Saturday tea time for Erin over there in Ireland. And we hope that you guys will come back every Saturday for authors chat. We'll have different authors. These ladies may come back again. Me and Elizabeth are here every single Saturday, joining you for a fantastic author chat here on the author's porch. And we'll catch you guys next Saturday. Bye, everybody. Bye, Erin. Bye, Justina. Bye, Elizabeth. Bye.
The Author's Porch is a certified veteran-hosted podcast. Show your support, tune in, share, and subscribe.